All right, so recording now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode. We have a very special episode for you today. You may have heard on some of our recent podcasts or seen on our social media that Cassie and I have been talking a lot about VitalField's energy cells. We've tried their anti-inflame and their no pain, and we're obsessed. We love them. And today we have Jan Wellmann, who is one of the creators of VitalFields and the energy cells, to answer all the questions we have on how they work and how they were created, and they're just so amazing. We're so excited to talk to you, Jan. Thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm very excited to be on.
Yay. So, can you start by telling our listeners a little bit about who you are, how you've gotten to where
Sure,
you are today, and how that
sure.
relates to vital fields and the energy cells?
I think the best way to introduce the energy cells is actually to introduce my background story of how I got inspired, the whole idea of energy cells. I was originally born in Finland. I'm half German. I grew up in Finland, a very small country next to Russia, if someone hasn't heard of it yet. And was actually educated in business in US, but most of my professional life I was in film production, no more like TV documentary production on both sides of the pond, which is in London and Los Angeles. And in my early 40s, I would say I was living a very hectic life, typical stressed life. I was working for, amongst other projects, for a production company that was producing films for Discovery and History Channel, and you are under incredible pressure in this environment. And I was getting the typical type of low energy symptoms. But I'm 55 now, so that was approximately 15, 17 years ago. And I don't think the concept of autoimmune was very widely known at that stage yet. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
people were definitely eliciting symptoms of autoimmune, but I had multiple symptoms plus burnout symptoms, and while I was taking care of myself, I was pretty knowledgeable about nutrition and exercise, etc. So there was nothing wrong with my discipline of taking care of myself. But I would say that if I would give a personal estimate, I would say 80 to 90% of our health happens between our ears. It's mental.
Mm-hmm.
And we can do a lot of right things about micronutrition. We can do a lot of right things about how we eat, how we exercise, etc. But ultimately, most of the collective, I mean, cumulative symptoms that we gather is because of the modern lifestyle that is somehow directly or indirectly increasing our chronic stress. I would say this is the biggest driver. And there's a lot of things that drive this type of energy loss that is related to chronic stress. I would say when we do things and work on things that we're not aligned with, that's one type of energy loss, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Or if we're in a relationship that we're not comfortable with, that's an energy loss. We all know that. But very few people realize that if you let these type of signals, low energy signals, accumulate, then your health is going to degenerate. And I think I got to a point where I was, let's say, in a critical stage where my energy was so low, I was beginning to manifest not just burnout symptoms, but when you don't have the energy to feed your immune system, then your weakest parts start to manifest. So in my case, for example, it had to do with the gut, bacterial balance, allergies. I got several issues with parasites. I fought with parasites for probably 5-7 years, and it's incredible how little even the top experts in the world know about parasites and how they work. Once you start getting issues with parasites, you go to a top modern doctor and they give you antibiotics, and then they let you get you back home. But the problem is that antibiotics compromise your immune system even further. So you just get on this path. Same with a lot of women who have a UTI condition, for example. They go and take an antibiotic, and it solves the situation, but they have the problem next time sooner. And so I had been doing this type of thing for probably 10 years. I've been an entrepreneur for all my life and living from one project to another, always very quickly. I would say that I also have, as a background, also have definitely aspects of ADHD. So you can never quiet down because you need to do something. So getting into this, I would say almost kind of a rat race of trying to heal myself with modern medicine wasn't working out for me. And I realized that it didn't matter who I was talking to from regular doctors. They were giving me similar advice that wasn't really helping me. And it occurred to me later on that a lot of other people were in the same situation, the same predicament. I was also setting up a company at that stage that was doing a lot of investigative journalism around health, natural health, and natural health solutions, and producing content around how to approach these type of situations, and learned a lot about nutrition and food supply system and the healthcare system that was kind of very bizarre to me first, because at least 35 years of my life I thought that we can go into an office with white walls with people who are trained and they will give you something to help you. And suddenly I'm in my early 40s and I realized this is not the case. You have to actually find, if it's a chronic disease, if you're in an acute accident, in a car accident, you have to say that modern medicine is the most astounding science there is today. But if you have chronic illness today, then you have to accept at the end of the day that they don't have solutions. They have they have methods to reduce the symptoms, and why that is, I don't think we should get into that. That's so different.
Yeah, we couldn't agree more
yeah.
with how you've put that. We have definitely talked frequently on the podcast and in our social media about, Western medicine being so great for crisis management. And emergency, like you said, acute stuff. But when it comes to the chronic disease management or illness, the best you can hope for most of the time is half of your symptoms being managed. So that's just kind of music to our ears to just hear that you have that shared view.
So it was very important for me because I was, to wake up from this illusion that there is a solid science behind healing today in the modern system. You have to go through a tragic experience. You have to be close to death. So I had my close to death experience. Once I checked into a hospital and they gave me 3 days to live because of blood poisoning. And they used a very experimental antibiotics on me. They flew this stuff with a private jet into the hospital and injected me with this stuff. And I was 3 days under this antibiotic treatment and was hallucinating. And fairly certain that I was dying. So when I got out of that and I survived, it was a kick in my ass to really start researching what's going on and how to help myself. Otherwise, my life would end pretty soon. So in that sense, I'm grateful for that experience. But with that dedication of trying to find something authentic for myself, I changed my lifestyle. One of the first things I did was I realized I started listening to my gut, or let's say intuition. And one of the first things was that I need to get out of LA. LA was not the environment to heal yourself. And I have to get out of this constant stress environment. I have to do things that are truly inspire me. I don't think it's a problem to push yourself, but if you push yourself in a way that is not aligned with what you're really about, it's a problem. It's because
Mhm.
everything that has to do with chronic disease is about energy loss. You have 200 different autoimmune conditions, but you have 1,000 different chronic disease conditions. But if you really dig in there, it boils down to the inability of the cells to regenerate. And it boils down to mitochondrial health. 95% of our health energy is coming from mitochondria.
Mhm.
So anything that we can do to help these guys crank more energy during the day is going to be beneficial for
Mhm.
regenerating. So ultimately it's an energy equation that we have to work with. So with that in mind, I started researching anything that will increase our energy level. And I also made the decision and the commitment to pursue a path that would be more energy positive for me. So I try to simplify the language rather than look at my conditions, like what is this allergy about here on my hand or what's on my skin. I don't go to skin doctor or something happening with my lungs or etc. I don't go to a lung doctor. I look at what's going on with my overall energy. Why am I not healing? Because the
Mhm.
body is built and designed to be self-healing. That's an absolute fact. So once I made that decision, everything started happening. There is this law of synchronicity that people and solutions start coming to you when you're on a path that you define. And in this way, some weird things started happening in the next few years. I landed in a very small village in Greece. I was squeezed between the Spartan Mountains and the Aegean Sea. So I was swimming and I was hiking and I was eating fish, everything organic, and I was studying and learning about natural ways of living. And I was writing a lot about that. And I was also studying chronic disease. I was looking at cancer, the history of cancer, and why since 1920s the rates are just worse with all the progress in science. I just couldn't understand it, so I needed to understand that. And at one stage, I got involved in very advanced molecular blood scans called metabolomic medicine that looks at how well the mitochondria are performing. And with these tests, you can pretty much define what your deficiencies are. So they can tell you what exact micronutrition you need to eat to get the ATP production back up. But still, micronutrition is great, but it's only a small part of the total equation. So during this, to make a long story short, over 10 years, I was navigating from one solution to another and focusing on things that really looked at root causalities. I mean, what is really happening at the background of my problem rather than looking at the symptoms. And during that time, I met people in Vienna, in Austria, where I'm right now, and they told me about this technology, frequency medicine technology that had been around for 30 years, and I had never heard about it. And I was extremely skeptical about it. But I was kind of curious because the people I was talking to seemed to be on the level. So I went to meet them and I saw these machines and they were huge. I mean, they were like the three massive bricks the size of an old stereo system, and a lot of cables and antennas and just something that I had never seen before. And at that stage, I didn't even realize that or understand or have the knowledge about how the human body actually works, which the regulatory mechanism of cells, for example, is more electric and electromagnetic than chemical. I mean, all the instant reactions, the communication in the body between 30 trillion cells and another 100 trillion bacteria and another 380 trillion viruses, all the organs, all the sinews, all the neurons in the brain, all of them have a very specific electromagnetic spectrum. And when we look at the totality of the human condition, we are basically shining with electromagnetic fields that are very specific and very unique. And all of this sounded very, very esoteric to me at the time, but I decided to take a diagnosis, and it only takes 8 minutes to measure your field. And these big systems, the machines that were around, could do that well, like in 8 to 12 minutes, you could do 200 million measurements. And the way it works is it scans the entire spectrum of all the different frequencies that are critical to our health. So it looks at all the big organs, it looks at all the different areas of the brain, most of the microbes in the microbiome. It has cataloged most of the viruses that we deal with inside the human body, which most of them, by the way, are beneficial, not a threat. They're working with the bacteria, they're protecting the bacteria, they're feeding the bacteria. We are mostly viruses in the age where we are protecting ourselves against one virus right now. Mm-hmm. The truth is that the health is based on a diversity of microbes, and we are a superorganism, a community of microbes. So this machine is able to look at this community and see where the energy loss is, which ones of these frequency microbes and organs is using more energy than they should, disproportionately. And on the other hand, also it was able to block to spot the areas where the energy was blocked. Mm-hmm. So you get a pretty amazing scan of the reality of your energy condition in such a short time. And what convinced me was that I saw immediately from the results a couple of things. For example, an issue that I have with my left shoulder, a chronic issue I had at the time that I had told no one, another gut issue, etc., that I got an answer for in 10 minutes that I had been searching for an answer for over 2 years. So, of course, I thought I'd landed somewhere that was very interesting. It didn't mean that I accepted everything immediately. I was still skeptical, but it was so convincing and impressive that I started studying it and also started using these instruments on other people that I were consulting with their energy conditions. So bottom line is that after 2 years, I got close to the people who developed the machines. They are German and Swiss. A group of people, very professional, who have been working and developing these machines since early 1980s.
Gosh.
And the clinical machines, it's always been a kind of a small community, the VitalField community. There's about 2,800 clinics now in Switzerland, Austria, and Germany. And I would say they're naturopaths, they're homeopaths, they're sports therapists. They are a wide range of natural doctors who specialize in various autoimmune conditions, in chronic disease, but they also interestingly specialize in recuperation and regeneration for top athletes. So some of the we have probably over 15 gold Olympic medalists, for example, who come constantly to these clinics to regenerate faster. And if they have damage from excess training or damage because of some type of injury, they come to these clinics and they regenerate up to 3 times faster than they would in normal circumstances. So all of this meeting hundreds of these doctors and interviewing them with my filmmaker background and my research background, got me so excited about it that I combined my business experience with this passion, and convinced them that we need to broaden the market. We need to miniaturize these machines, and we need to bring the budget down, because these machines, you have to invest around 100,000 to get, a decent set going. And synchronistically, another synchronicity happened. I came across, with my partner here in Austria, I came across another company that was manufacturing a patented new material that was actually able to retain these type of frequencies for longer than 6 months. In fact, if you look at the material, we have lab studies, you can store these frequencies on this material, and after 6 months, the intensity loss is less than 4%. So a lot of the athletes, for example, who use these, what we call energy cells today, they wear them a year, 1.5 years. Then when they have a problem, they put it back on, and when they don't, they put it back in the shelf, and then they pull it out and they give it to their friends, etc. That was the critical point. When this material came through, we realized that we can give people the opportunity to try these type of treatments at a very low budget. And for the first time, you could try this type of therapy for less than a couple of $100. So right now we're selling them at 123, which is less than a month of painkillers. Now, the interesting challenge here is that these big machines, they have literally thousands and thousands of different modalities. You can increase the energy of mitochondria. You can increase your resistance to specific toxins. For example, if you're a hairdresser, you're handling the similar kind of toxins all the time. These type of people have a lot of allergies specific to that, and there's really nothing you can do except protect your skin. But interestingly, we can increase the resistance of people against specific toxins if they cannot remove themselves from that environment. And they be with these type of frequency treatments. But the same applies to allergies of all kinds. It applies to viruses. If you have specific viruses or parasites, we can deal with them, because we can scan the specific frequency range of that microbe, and we can either support it if it's a good bacteria, or we can deconstruct it and weaken it if it's, let's say, a pathogenic virus or pathogenic bacteria or parasite. So there's a universe of different options, and one of the things that I noticed for people who have not really gotten very comfortable with this type of new technology is that if you tell them that you can do 1 million things with these machines, it doesn't really sound very credible. So I made the decision from day one that let's just focus on a couple of things in the beginning. And pain, chronic pain, happens to be a very, very good starting point, because number one, you either know it's working or it doesn't work very quickly. And you're addressing something that is connected to most chronic pains, chronic issues. Pain is there, whether it's systemic or localized. It's very often related to inflammation. So, and even if it's acute, there's ways to help the cells regenerate faster. So we did 2 years of testing with these, which were at that stage called chips. Now we call them cells. And we took them to a German lab, to a guy that had absolutely no bias towards alternative solutions, straightforward, conservative cell biologist who works with pharmaceutical companies, and said, can you test these cells? And we won't tell you which one is charged, which one is blank. And he did repeated tests. And this is how we found out for the first time that these energy cells could make a significant difference in cell regeneration, 25% a difference in, for example, wound healing. We had cell metabolism up to 60% faster. And then we had also new modalities like immune cells that we were looking at incredibly significant results. And we realized that, okay, this is something that is very promising, but we also have to be very careful not to make any type of claims, because the reality is that the regulation is very pharma oriented. So our starting point has always been, let us try and help you. If it doesn't work for you, then you send this product back to us. And 2019 was pretty much a testing ground for these cells in Europe, and we had over 3,000 patients in Germany and Austria, and we had over 80% success rate at that time. So
that's so exciting.
We started building. My passion was to get this to America, because I still feel, even though I'm a Finnish guy, really, I'm a Finnish German guy, somehow my heart is in California still. And I wanted to get this to California because I also know how the chronic disease groups there work. And I had been communicating for at least 8 years, producing content for people and communicating with them with my other company.
And here in the States, we're also very go, chronic stress
yeah,
all the time.
exactly.
Do all the things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So when in 2020, April 2020, we opened the online activity, which was more or less exactly the time when the coronavirus came around. So not an optimal time to open a business, but the success rate was even higher in US. So
Wow.
we have a return rate. We don't ask questions. If it doesn't work for you, we don't ask questions. We return the money. And it's very important to understand that the way to think in energy medicine is completely different. The energy medicine recognizes that we are extremely individualistic when it comes to our energy profile, and that there is no one pill or one solution that can solve you or heal you. We come from with the idea that we can help the body heal itself and give it more energy and make it easier for that body to process the stress that's in there. And if we concentrate on a couple of areas first, which is right now resistance, which is pain, which is inflammation, and in certain cases, a combination of these cells works really well as well. Then we're giving the body more support to do its job. But every time we try to tell our clients, this is not a solution that's going to fix your problems. You also have to take care of your nutrition. You have to take care of look at your stress levels. You have to look at how you're moving and other factors in your life. So we published a book that is giving some directions there as well. And we hope to actually move towards a direction where we can give more holistic information and individualized information for people to help themselves. But the most important thing for us is that the energy cell itself doesn't present any type of danger. It's non-invasive, it's non-chemical. There's no reported side effects. Some people have had a fractional part of people have had slight allergic reactions from the patch, which is used to attach the energy cell. But we've never had any negative reactions from this product. So we can safely say that we have something from which to build further. And the future is looking very, very exciting, because end of this year, we're coming out with the first electronic wearables. And you can change the program on the fly. You can travel with it. And the future is also in downloadables, because you can customize these programs. And the other aspect of the future is that we are going to miniaturize some of these diagnostic machines. The current diagnostic machines are huge, but there will be, in the next 2 years, we hope to have a miniaturized diagnostic machine as well. So I'm truly, genuinely passionate about helping people identify and then identify the root cause and then help them to get through that. And it's all because of my background in realizing that I have to help myself, because there was no one I could find in the world that was really trying to or able to give me real answers at the time.
This is so exciting.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
I loved all of that. Jan, thank you for sharing, or Jan, thank you for sharing your story. One thing that really stuck out to me that I wrote a note down is when you first were introduced to this tech, you were skeptical but curious. And that stood out to me because that's how Cassie and I felt when we were told about the energy cells. We like science. We like to nerd out on how things work. And I know I was looking through like all your FAQs online, being like, how, like, I get there's frequencies, but how is this working? I couldn't wrap my mind around it.
Yeah.
And Cassie just goes, Chelsea, shut up and put it on your body and see if it works.
Yeah.
And it did. And of course, like, we both came into it with kind of like you, a little bit of like, what is this? Is this going to work? And we both noticed remarkable differences. I mean, I had mostly like muscle soreness is kind of what my pain is, and it went away. Cassie, you were able to go through a busy day without needing your hot water bottle the entire time, which was
Awesome.
huge for you.
It was huge. It was like a really big moment because we started with, I wore the anti-inflame and Chelsea wore the no pain, and inflammation is like my middle name these days through my body. And so to wear that, and within 48 hours, I like Chelsea said, I made it through my whole workday without just thinking of my hot water bottle in the back of my mind constantly. It was a really big deal. And so that night,
Awesome.
I texted Chelsea and was like, I think these are working,
I think they are too.
Yeah.
It's
which is great, because we have to be, the pharmaceutical solutions are one area, and we have to appreciate they serve a purpose. Absolutely. With the caveat that they're probably not going to address the root cause too much, but they will address a lot of things. But there's another field, which is that when people realize that pharmaceuticals are not necessarily the helping them long term, they try to look at a lot of alternative solutions. And once you get into the alternative area, it's unfortunate, but there's a lot of questionable stuff out there.
Yes.
So we don't have, especially when you're sick and you're suffering, you don't have time or resources to do the research. And you don't have necessarily the energy to figure out who's telling the truth, because there's some people who are really brilliant in coming up with all kinds of scams. And I realized that in the case of our challenge, has also been a communication challenge. How do you stand out from a lot of, different holograms, etc., that are out there? You put a patch on yourself, and so they're supposed to help you. We want to stand out in terms of the scientific aspect, and that's why we're putting so much effort and invest so much money and time in clinical studies. We're doing right now studies on sperm cells and fertility, for example.
Oh, that's so cool.
Which we have initial results last year, is that for the first time we were able to increase the longevity of sperm cells up to 3 times. So we had sperm cells that were living for 9 days, and that's unheard of. We also have been able to energize egg cells, etc. And some of the leading fertility doctors in Austria are using this to help with fertility issues. There is a very interesting thing is happening. We're exposed to a lot of EMF, by using the mobile phone a lot. This is underappreciated. I didn't really believe in it in the beginning, but it has a big effect on our mitochondria. If we are overstressed with EMF, and then in addition we are bombarded with chronic stress, it's just cumulative. So and the higher the frequency, when we move from 3G to 4G to 5G, you don't need a conspiracy. It's happening. Your DNA is going to degenerate faster than it would in normal circumstances. It doesn't happen immediately, but what we are in the big cities like Los Angeles, it's a massive drain on your overall energy, because there's so many signals, not just mental, but also electromagnetic signals. So taking care of that aspect of your environment, where you are, making sure that you're not getting hit by man-made electromagnetic EMF constantly is a very big part of it. Shutting down your Wi-Fi, making sure your phone is not next to your bed when you're sleeping. All of that is part of the education we're trying to give to our customers, because let's say you take an energy cell for against inflammation, but you keep your phone next to your bed and Wi-Fi next to your bed. You know, these are all things you need to take into consideration. We want to make more tests with sperm cells. Are very interesting because they are the first line of defense against these type of influences. So if you're living in high EMF environment, you can measure it objectively very quickly, but the mitochondria inside the sperm cells will get the first blast, and you will see that in the lab tests very quickly. So how to protect yourself from those type of influences, especially when you're a young couple and trying to have a baby. Fertility rates have gone down dramatically since 1990, since we started using cell phones. So in a way, we are the positive answer to EMF, because we bring in the natural frequencies. We're imitating nature's frequencies. And the healthy frequencies are versatile. They're natural. They are diverse. And when we are subjected to these type of subtle, diverse frequencies, it's like going out in a walk in the nature or in the mountains. You feel the effect. And it's not just because of the fresh air, it's the frequencies of nature. So these type of influences, I think both in terms of solutions and communication and understanding is very important to bring back to the people.
I appreciate that explanation so much. I'm very science-minded myself. I love all of the research that you're talking about, making sure that you're taking these energy cells to researchers and scientists that are not going to have my brain is blanking on the word, a conflict of interest. They're going to be very able to look at it from a new way and not have their data skewed because they're trying to show a certain result. Like that researcher that you took it to in Germany that normally does pharmaceutical research.
Yeah.
They probably don't want your stuff to show off as good because it's going to actually hurt the pharmaceutical companies. And so I think that the attention to detail, I also really appreciate that you're trying to bring that education and awareness through your company of the holistic care that has to happen. Yes, you can slap on an energy cell and it can make a big difference, but if the rest of your life is just a mess, I mean, you're barely putting a Band-Aid on a wound versus actually letting the wound heal.
Exactly.
And I think that it's so interesting that there's so many different ways that these frequencies, these cells can help our bodies. But if it really goes down to the cells themselves, it's the mitochondria regenerating, being able to function properly, it does make sense that it would help a whole wide range of things, because you are made up of, I don't know the number, like trillions of cells, and they all have mitochondria.
Current count is 38. Yeah.
Yes, there you go. See, you are the expert in this. That's a lot of mitochondria that get affected.
Yeah.
And so
each of them might have up to 200. So it's crazy. Yeah.
That's a lot.
We're an amazing powerhouse. It's incredible how much energy we produce. We produce, in terms of ATP, if the cell fuel that we produce every day, recycled through the body every day, is almost 70 kilograms. How many pounds is that? 160 pounds of cell fuel
Jeez.
that goes through the systems. We are the most efficient energy generators in existence. The whole mitochondrial cellular production is just a miracle, and it explains when you undermine that energy equation, it explains the modern symptoms, and it explains why 60% of the people today have chronic disease.
Yeah.
And I think for me it's equally or even more important to engage in this communication for people to understand that chronic disease is not something that they have because they either inherited it or there's something wrong with them, or it's almost some people feel like it's their destiny to have this. It's not a destiny. It's not genetic. They don't deserve it. And most of it, 99.9% of these conditions can be cured naturally. It's very dangerous to say this today, but people need to get back into the idea of self-empowerment, that they are in charge. And everything is conditional on this energy equation.
Yeah. And having some hope. And even like you said in the very beginning, so much of the healing takes place between the ears. I mean, in the sense of bringing in, just like Chelsea said, your holistic view, looking at the lifestyle, the environment, the body. I mean, things like, if you're in an unhealthy relationship, that contributes to, like you said, loss of energy and the body being depleted. If you live your life in shoes and you don't get to connect, with the ground and the earth, with your feet and your skin, I mean, that makes a difference.
Absolutely.
And just little moments like that, or going outside to get some sunshine and sunlight on the skin. I remember when my son was born, he was jaundice. And so they have that yellowing of the skin for babies, and it's quite common. And doctors and nurses recommend all sorts of things for it. But my mom, she was an acupuncturist, alternative medicine. And she said, no, just take him by the window and get sunlight on him. And it was gone within, a couple of days.
Awesome.
And
B vitamin, what can I say?
Yeah, exactly. And she said, you don't need to do anything else. He just needs some sunlight. And so I was fortunate to be raised in that sense of not taking those things for granted, and, coming back to just earth and natural and alternative and what the body is capable of, and willpower and everything. And it's been interesting to be raised in that background and then go into the Western medical world with treatments and medications and drugs to try and manage my disease, of which most have not worked. And so one of the interesting things too is a lot of those drugs and medications to treat IBD and specifically inflammatory bowel disease, those medications take a while to work, even up to like 6 months or so.
Sure.
And so when Chelsea and I put on the energy cells, I definitely was like, well, this may not work, especially in inflammation is so chronic and systemic. This could take forever. So it was pretty incredible to notice, within 48 to 72 hours, that just my fingers felt less puffy. The way my pants were fitting felt less constricting. I mean, and I am quite in touch with the body, with my body. And like I said, having gone through all sorts of different types of medicine, quick fixes and things that take 6 months to work, I was pretty impressed. And Chelsea and I really appreciate how much effort you have put into explaining the science on your website and in your emails, because we are both, we both like some of the woo-woo stuff, like earthing, going and standing outside with your feet in the grass, and how that is
which
beneficial.
Which is huge, by the way. Absolutely huge.
Yeah, we both are like, no, that's a thing, but we also like very scientific based stuff. So
but that's just the thing, that grounding is scientific. but it's
Oh,
associated with woo-woo, you know?
yes, that's perfectly put. You're right. That's exactly right. And so this we were just so thrilled to try the VitalFields and feel a benefit much more quickly than we expected. In addition, we were kind of thinking nothing would happen and we wouldn't feel any kind of benefit.
Yeah.
And so to now get to talk to you about some of the backgrounds and your passions with it, it's really refreshing to have that really aligned perspective and mindset on how to treat the body and medicine. And I think it's really cool that even just being in such a high stress environment led you down this path, because stress is one of those things that, you know, it's talked about. Everyone knows, oh, you know, yeah, stress isn't great for your health. But people still are in denial about it. And it's hard to, you know, it's hard to like take a step out and look at your daily life and really admit or accept or take a look at how much stress is in your daily life and the effect that it's having. So
And
I think that's
also,
amazing.
exactly. And I think stress and understanding I'm still learning about it. And I think one of the things about stress is that we mistake stress for a lot of activity. It's not, because the type of stress that is wearing us out is, I would say the simple answer is that when we're doing hectically things that we're not aligned with. But if we are pushing ourselves with things that we love, and it's heavy stuff, I mean, we're carrying boulders, but we love this stuff for some odd reason, then it's not affecting us negatively, which is very important to understand. In one of the big influences in this chronic disease plague, which we are within now, right now, is that we are actually don't have enough positive stress. We're not pushing ourselves enough. We are very comfortable. The modern lifestyle is super comfortable. We're constantly in the perfect temperature. We're not moving enough. We have transport mechanisms to everywhere. People who live a long life, you can find them in certain areas of the world. They're constantly moving, and they are often living in mountainous areas where they have engage in resistance, physical resistance throughout the day. They're not going for 45 minutes exercise in a gym. The exercise is part of their lifestyle. They're constantly part of the nature and getting air and sun. But resistance is very often misunderstood as pressure. Pressure is actually, when we're doing things that we are aligned with, is very good for us. We grow stronger from it. But this excess comfort is actually, I think, a big part of the reason why so many people are ill today. They don't have enough challenges. They don't have enough diversity of signals in their life. So it's very interesting to simplify everything and stop looking at ourselves as individuals, biochemical beings, and just sometimes jump from the particle to the wave type thinking, and think I'm a kind of a radio station. If you measure me, I reach out 10 feet around me, are the fields, and people come in my range. Their field is influencing me. What type of a field is that person representing has a big influence on my energy level. And when I'm with the person who's next to me, we form a signal together. So all of these fields come together, and we just feel best when we are in nature. So it's challenging to keep yourself in a high energy state when you're living in a city on asphalt, insulated from the ground. Insulation is a big problem. You're never grounded. You have chronic stress. You're most likely doing 8 to 4 type work, that just for the money very often. So these type of things are the serious, the bulk of the problem. And how to change that is not easy, because we've been in this for 100 years now. thinking that this is the way to go, living in the big city and doing it. But I think the health scare that we are going through right now, part of the reason why it's so massive is because we come from a low energy position to begin with. Our immune systems are not able to cope with a virus that's not particularly much more dangerous than a flu virus would be if we had a healthy immune system. And you can see that from the statistics. So in order to have a long-term solution and live an energetic life, we need to go back to the basics. And that part of that is really looking at you as an individual and not try and copy someone else's lifestyle, but go back to what lights you up in this life, you know, and eat the things that give you energy. Don't listen to that nutritionist every time. And don't necessarily go for the sugar, but measure what type of energy do you have 20 to 30 minutes after eating your dinner, because you can tune back into your body and listen to the signals that it's telling you about what type of people, what type of environment, what type of foods, what type of thoughts are giving you energy. And that's, I think, big part of the healing process.
I love that you just said, listen to your body, because I think that's something that I know I say, and I think Cassie says a lot. We're both Pilates instructors by trade, on top of being podcasters, but we're always telling people to connect to their bodies. And I think that it's just something, I don't want to speak for the entire world, but I will speak for the United States. We don't listen to our bodies. We look at a smartwatch or an app on our phone to tell us if we had a good enough workout, or if we quote unquote slept enough, or if we've eaten enough food, or we've eaten the right types of food.
Yeah.
We don't listen to our bodies anymore. And we cut off so much information that could help us truly feel our best.
Yeah.
Just by checking in to see how you feel, and even saying your thoughts, you know, and that's something that I've said, it takes more energy to think negatively than it does to think positively or optimistically. It takes more energy.
Yeah.
And so this has just been such a treasure to chat with you, because so much of what you said is so aligned with what Chelsea and I believe.
Awesome.
Man. And it just makes me feel even more honored and excited to be involved with your company and to have discovered them, and to know what the future holds. I mean, wearable devices, and then the diagnostic tools that you're creating. And it's just, it's really exciting, and advocating, like you said, for looking at the body as a whole and as an individual, going back to the basics, and just not dismissing some of that woo-woo stuff. Like I can't imagine what it would be like to live in a concrete jungle. You know, I've been fortunate enough to not live that way. I did grow up in England, and that there was more concrete, I guess, in that city than in Kansas here in the US. That being said, we walked everywhere living in England, and in the US, you know, you drive everywhere, at least in the
Where are you
Midwest.
guys right now? Where are you?
Kansas, Wichita, Kansas, in the
We are
US.
smack dab in the middle of the United States.
I know Wichita.
Oh, good.
Yay.
Yeah. So we have beautiful, like, vast lands, but you do have to drive to go pretty much everywhere here. And, you know, that is an element that does just disconnect you more. And it is refreshing when you go to Europe or other big cities in the US, I'm sure, when you can walk, and you could live your whole life without a vehicle if you wanted. And I do believe that that's something that more people should be doing, is just walking, just that natural exercise,
absolutely.
you know, that the body was made to do. And, you know, in the Midwest, you do, and not just the Midwest, because I lived up in Pacific Northwest. It was the same. You have to make the effort to go out for a walk.
Big time.
In Europe, you walk to dinner, and then you walk home, and then you've just naturally began to digest your food a little bit better, you know, because of the walking. And little pieces of that, I hope that the US can adopt more. And so even like you said, just advocating for that holistic look and what lights you up, what makes you passionate. Chelsea and I, that is like so much of what we do, and why we're doing this is, and as Pilates instructors, we both love the Pilates method and the benefits for the body in that sense. And so every time we go to work, even if we're tired and, it's going to be a long day and you kind of go in and you're a little bit like, oh, I'm not ready to show up. You start working with someone and seeing the benefit that they're getting from Pilates, and then you are
Yeah.
lit up, and
Yeah.
then you're energized for the day and you feel fulfilled in that session. And Chelsea and I talk about that constantly.
Yeah.
Our feelings of like, oh no, dreading going to work, they always go away when you
Yeah.
are seeing the benefit to the body.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so finding something you're passionate about, I mean, we are all about that too. And this has just been so exciting to have this deep and thorough conversation about what your company stands for and the passion behind it.
I really appreciate the opportunity. I love talking to you guys about this, and yeah, I could go on forever about this topic. I'm very happy to talk to you. So
thank you.
This has been great. We, of course, have VitalFields linked in the show notes for everyone to be able to go to the website, learn more about everything, sign up for your emails. Is there any place else on the internet that people should go if they're wanting to learn more about VitalFields or learn more about you and your story?
Right now, I think the best place is vitalfield.com because we try to keep everything centralized there, and we're going to. There's a newsletter, so all the new things that are going to come out quite soon. We're coming out with new cells and modalities, and the electronic wearables. So we'll publish them in the newsletter.
Yeah, those newsletters are fantastic, by the way.
They're very good.
I read every single one. And, we all get inundated with emails constantly, and we all delete emails before we even open them. I read all of the VitalField ones because they're so interesting, and the case studies. And so, yeah, we highly recommend you sign up for the newsletter. It is, modern medicine at its finest in a different sense of how Western modern medicine, And so, yeah, we totally recommend people to sign up for that newsletter.
Now you're making me blush.
Well, Jan, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to chat with us. This has truly been amazing. We love the energy cells. We cannot wait to see what you create in the future. I'm so excited. It's going to be amazing.
Me too. Thank you so much. Have a super day there, and hopefully catch up with you soon.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Wonderful.
Thank you. You too.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey everyone, we really hope that you enjoyed that episode. Cassie and I had so much fun talking to Jan. And if you have not gotten your energy cells yet, don't forget that you can go to vitalfields.com and use code SpooniesUnite in all caps to get 15% off. Again, that's code SpooniesUnite for 15% off. Yay, saving money. If you can't tell, Cassie and I are obsessed with these energy cells. They're amazing. They're our favorite things. We own both the anti-inflame and the no pain because they're that amazing. And we're definitely going to try the regenerate, which is their immune enhancing energy cell. So all good things. We cannot wait to see what they create in the future. And I'm sure that we will also love those too. But again, use the link in the show notes or type in vitalfields.com to get your energy cells and let us know how you like them. Oh, don't stop recording. Cancel. Oh, shit. Olivia, please ignore that. Starting again. Hey, everyone. We really hope you enjoyed that interview with Jan. We had so much fun talking to him. He has so much passion, and so many of his ideals on holistic health were in such alignment with what Cassie and I believe in, which is why we are ambassadors for VitalField. We would not be ambassadors for a company we did not believe in. We fully believe in them. We are obsessed with our energy cells. If you haven't noticed, we love their anti-inflame and their no pain, and we are planning on trying their resistance one very soon because that one's all about helping your immune system. And, that's always good, no matter what is going on in the world. So if you want to try the energy cells yourself, go to vitalfield.com and use code SpooniesUnite for 15% off. It's SpooniesUnite in all caps. That's also listed out in the show notes. So check that out. If you buy some, let us know how you like them. And if you don't like them, because it's okay, sometimes things just don't work the same way for everyone. You can always send them back. So it's risk-free. Try it. If you love them, great. Let us know. If you don't, also let us know, because we like hearing about your experience. Otherwise, we hope you enjoyed the episode, and we will be in your ears again soon. Woohoo!
Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Real Life Show, Living with a Chronic Illness. We are honored to be introducing our guest today and to have him on our podcast, Jan Wellmann.
Jan.
I was just going to redo that. Jan Wellmann is an entrepreneur and health coach. He's founded several pioneering ventures, including one that revolutionized mobile gaming, Riot E. He is the founder of health and wellness portals Honey Colony and Simple Transformative, which have been operating from Los Angeles since 2013. In 2018, he launched Energy for Living, a biohacking venture to optimize the human energy potential. In 2019, he co-founded VitalField Technologies to revolutionize the possibilities of frequency medicine, aka biophysical medicine, in wearable devices. In the past, he's also worked as a writer, producer, director on documentary films that he made in over 24 countries for both network and theatrical venues. One of the things that I loved so much about Jan and this interview, and what I love about Energy Cells, the VitalField company, everything, all the things, is that they really view individuals and people and medicine and energy and health as a whole. You know, when we live with chronic illness and chronic disease, we're often, boomeranged between different doctors, and they don't communicate, and it's symptoms for this, diagnosis for this, specialist for that. And I really appreciated his overall approach to well-being, lifestyle, body, mind, emotions, everything. And the fact that the Energy Cells and the science behind VitalField prioritizes that as well is really appealing. And Chelsea and I truly align with their values.
Yeah, ever since Cassie and I were introduced to the Energy Cells and have used them ourselves, we became super fans. If y'all haven't noticed, we love these little energy cells. We truly notice a difference in our lives, even though we were incredibly skeptical that there would be a difference. And when we first started using them, and being able to sit down and talk with Jan about why he is so passionate about this field, about this company, about these products, and just get to learn how they are made, why are they made the way they are, the difference that they make, how they influence the frequencies of our cells, and why that is important. It was just a fascinating hour, and it was so fun to talk to him because so many of his values just about life really aligned with what Cassie and I believe in. It's about creating a life that you really love, taking care of yourself from the inside out. And it was a spectacular chat with him. I did want to give a little science lesson for anyone that has forgotten their high school biology. We do talk a little bit about mitochondria in the cells and how they help with cell regeneration and the energy of the cell. And so for anyone that's like, what the heck is a mitochondria? It is known as the powerhouse of the cell. So it is the part of your cells that is actually responsible for creating energy, which our cells' form of energy is ATP. So basically, these mitochondria are very, very important. Mitochondrial health can be very, very important. And as we talk with Jan, there's definitely some things out there in our life that can make our mitochondria and our cells overall just not as healthy as they could be, which creates systemic and specific problems in our bodies. So we really hope you enjoy this episode. Please reach out to us if you have any questions, comments. We love, love, love hearing from you all. And we hope that this episode also helps answer any questions that you may have about the energy cells and what they're all about. Enjoy the show.